Palafin is being suspected in OU after 2 years thanks to an incredible community effort in Smogon's annual Like Shop event. However, why was it such a popular candidate despite its utterly commanding performance early this generation? Well, there are several factors to consider. First and foremost, the metagame climate is completely unrecognizable. Palafin benefited greatly from the chaotic metagame state thanks to its high priority Jet Punch and access to a devastating bulk up set that most teams in the infancy of Scarlet and Violet had no discernible and reliable resources against. On top of the metagame being better understood, we have a ton more resources available and far less brokenness to account for that constrained our compositions, since Palafin was banned literally in the first week. Compared to back then, we now have great options like Ogerpon, Teal and Wellspring, Sinistcha, Raging Bolt, Curem, a more viable Alamomola, Zamazenta, Zapdos. The list honestly goes on and on. Furthermore, because of Zero to Hero being a gimmick that folds momentum to let Pal power itself up, it generally requires some kind of defensive backbone to leverage the transformation, which makes using it on hyper offense a bit tricky. In terms of its positive applications, its powerful priority is a luxury to have in a metagame where speed tiers are more ludicrous than they've ever been, and thanks to its insane stat distribution and wide move pool, it has amazing set variety. Overall, this makes it an excellent proactive tool for balance and bulky offense that can also serve as a way to reliably revenge kill a wide range of dangerous Pokemon like King Gambit, Iron Valiant, and Iron Moth. This makes Palafin one of the more exciting Pokemon to try suspect testing. Now that it's available to try for a short period of time, let's talk a bit about the kinds of sets it can run and look a bit deeper into its applications. Before we get started, this video is sponsored by me, but also you guys. A vast majority of people who have been watching my videos lately aren't subscribed, and a small subset of you don't have notifications on. My time lately has been really constrained because of school and other components of my life, and so if you guys would like to see more content, subscribing and commenting really helps motivate me to make more content when I can. With that said and done, I'll let non-scripted Ozma take it away. Alright, so we are now here to talk about Palafin's funky, goofy sets. I apologize. As you may have noticed, my mic's a little bit different right now, but yeah, that will be addressed in due time. So, anyway, there are 6 main sets that I was mostly thinking about when it came to Palafin, and so I just kind of wanted to go over them real quick. So, first and foremost, this one is probably the set you think of when you first think of Palafin, and pretty intuitive. You have this insane attack stat, 160, and maybe one of the strongest priority moves in the game. And so it's pretty intuitive that you'd want to run a choice band set on it. This is a pretty straightforward set. You have really strong water type stab. You have really strong priority. And you have pivoting, which is also stab boosted. And then you have probably the best coverage move. You just probably run any kind of coverage here. CC is the most popular one, but you could also do Ice Punch, which lets you hit like Hydrapple and stuff like Dragapult or Dragonite, since they can wall your type combination. Granted, they can't switch in, but if you want to be proactive, then that's an option, right? And so, yeah, it's a pretty straightforward set. It's pretty strong. Nothing really wants to switch into it aside from like maybe Wellspring, because it has Water Absorb, but it's gonna get nuked by CC or Ice Punch, or mostly CC, but it could take an Ice Punch. And so with the nature, you can really do anything you want. I like Adamant because just juicing up Jet Punch is really big. It's clicking that. But if you want to outspeed like Curem, or I guess it could depend on your coverage option. But yeah, you could do Jolly if you want to outspeed like Iron Crown, Curem, Lando. So there's definitely utility in Jolly, but you could also do Adamant if you just want to go crazy with that Jet Punch. And yeah, this is a pretty straightforward set. But it does have a lot of checks. I mean, there's Sinistcha, there's Alamomola, there's Dondozo, Hydrapple, but it really depends on that coverage, because I really feel like it needs these 3 moves. Like, I think it's almost mandatory to have these 3. You could drop Wave Crash, I guess, but, like, I don't know, then you have a Water Stab that's not, like, super strong. In terms of Terra type, Uh, Generally, water is the one you want to go with. It's pretty intuitive. Juice up Jet Punch. Juice up your main stab moves. These are the things you're clicking 90% of the time. And yeah, this is a pretty popular set, and it's not really. I wouldn't really call it broken. It's very annoying to like react to, but if you have a water resist, you can buffer it, especially since it has to switch out initially. Um, and this is probably the best set. Offensive setup, I would probably say this is the best set, because the problem is that this metagame is really hostile toward bulky setup, which we'll talk about in a second. You have to deal with things like Zamazenta, stuff like Dragapult, Sinistra, like I said, and it just winds up being a situation where you can't really get to that insane endpoint that maybe you'd want to, or you'd expect of it, like it was able to do back when it was initially banned. But yeah, uh, regarding offensive setup, it's pretty similar in its archetype, but the main difference is with the investment. You'd mostly want to lean into making Palafin just really strong, make it so you only need to click up bulk up like once, maybe twice, but usually once. Um, Punching Glove is a pretty popular option, and it's also very intuitive. Palafin's using punching moves, so getting like a very small boost to them, but also not making contact is pretty nice because there's Rocky Helmet spam is everywhere, especially since this thing is going to exist. So Alamomola is going to be really popular with Helmet, and it has been. You have to account for, you have to, especially since you're not running Wave Crash, probably. Another reason why you want Wave Crash on band is because then because if you deal with bulky neutral Pokemon like Corviknight, then it's a little bit more annoying, and that's another reason why Punching Glove can be useful because it also runs Helmet a lot. Um, so that's why Punching Glove can be useful. But usually, I think lefties is probably going to be a little better, or just heavy duty boots if you really want. But I think lefties or punching glove is probably what you would do with this. And I left the last slot empty here because truthfully, you could go with anything. I think Ice Punch is probably the best because then you can hit Sinistra really hard. You can hit those annoying dragon types. Also gets punched by punching glove, which is another benefit. You could run something like Wave Crash here, pairs nice with lefties, I think. Um, you could do taunt, you do encore. I think these three are non-negotiable for the most part, though. I think I guess you could drop Drain Punch if you really wanted to for something like CC. But truthfully, I think Drain Punch is just part of what makes Palafin so potent is its the bulky its bulk here. So I really do think that's probably worth holding on to. And so usually Drain Punch is nice. You still, knock out the main targets you want. Like it still hits Kyurem really hard. Um, and speaking of, I went with this, but again, this is another case where you can easily just do a lot of speed and go for, yeah, like Kyurem, Iron Crown. But if you're running no Wave Crash, then there's not really a point. Just go for Kyurem, to be honest, and then just go for that. Pretty intuitive, pretty straightforward. And this is probably the best set because it takes the least amount of time to get going, but it still has that really dangerous end game potential, and it could be really potent. I've tried it a few times, and I've been like building a lot of teams with Palafin. That's why I have like these sets in mind here. And so yeah, really, I think there's a lot you could do here. I already mentioned Ice Punch, Taunt. You can do Encore, to be honest, but I don't think it's that good of an Encore user, and I'll explain why later. And yeah, Bulk It Up has a very similar archetype, but it's using a lot more Bulk Invest. Usually, it's going to want to run stuff like Taunt, Substitute. You can run Ice Punch on this too, but you're usually running a utility move last. So yeah, usually the set that got it banned, the move that got it banned was Taunt, and this is usually running like Terra Poison, Terra Grass. I like Terra Grass. I think it's underrated, but Poison is probably where you're going to want to go with. It's the best defense. It's the best bulky defensive Terra type it's the best defensive Terra type for bulky setup Pokemon. So I think Poison is just very intuitive. You can the speed of Vest you can definitely just tinker with, but I like this because then you can outspeed Adamant Dragonite, and you also still outspeed Raging Bolt naturally, which can matter. But typically, it's This is the threshold I personally like going for. Adamant Dragonite is pretty common because it just spams E-Speed all the time. But yeah, I like Substitute and Taunt the most, I think, with bulky Palafin. And but this set, like I said, I don't think it's as good as it was because there's just so much more hostility toward it. You have to account for things like phasing. Phasing is definitely going to become more popular with Palafin around. And it already was pretty popular, like Whirlwind, Tinglu, Zamazenta runs Roar a lot. And then you have to deal with Whirlwind I already mentioned. And in general, it's just like really hard to get going. You need like knockoff support too, because it doesn't have natural recovery. So then, like this set does not beat Rocky Helm at Alamomola 1v1, which is really sad and also very annoying because like I've tried 1v1ing it multiple times and it just doesn't really pan out because every time you click, you can't out heal very reliably a Drain Punch and it just like lives forever. So and Substitute also taking HP from you if you use that. I think Taunt does beat it though, but Substitute does not. I guess it depends though on your invest and what they're running, but it's not as. But my point is, it's not reliable as it used to be. Now this set right here is the one I think is probably all around the most useful. It's also probably less. This is the kind of set I love on Pokemon like this. Like, I really love like 3 attacks, like Wisp, like knockoff Darkrai. Definitely not the most broken set in the most conventional sense, but it's so useful because it comes with this really nice move. It comes with a really nice move, usually a utility move in your last slot. So Palafin here can run like Taunt or Encore, but generally the idea is you're really leaning into that utility of Jet Punch and pivoting, and it has this feature to operate. It can run heavy duty boots, and then you could run something like Encore. That's really nice probably really nice for sub-proc Kyurem. And then you have PC, which again, you outspeed Kyurem naturally, you can just nuke that. Flip Turn's good because it mid-grounds like stuff like D-Knight and stuff. Encore, it has this feature to take advantage of Encore sufficiently. I personally think Hisuian Samurot's a little better at using Encore as a water type, because Ceaseless Edge is just such an insane move. But I think Encore definitely has a place on it here. It's faster, it's bulkier, it has stronger pivoting, stronger priority. You can do Taunt too, like I said. Honestly, Haze could be kind of crazy. I haven't seen it, but I think there could be potential in it. If you want to deal with like Zamazenta and stuff that's trying to take advantage of this, then just like I guess at that point you just do Encore, right? But yeah, no, this is a nice set. It's not really broken, I would say, but it's really useful. And it's really easy to set up because Flip Turn just pairs really naturally with its game plan. That's another issue with setup. It has a bit of a hard time actually activating Zero to Hero without folding momentum, whereas at least these guys can run Flip Turn. So yeah, it's a pretty not fun and reliable way of using Palafin. And these are the kinds of sets I love using on these types of Pokemon. That makes me really appreciate their presence. Like it really leans into what makes Palafin actually a potentially healthy addition to the metagame. Okay, and now we're gonna get into some funny sets that I thought would be really fun. So first of all, we got mixed Palafin with Boom Burst. So a big issue with Palafin is that it struggles with opposing water types and bulky physical walls. And the thing about Palafin is it actually has a very serviceable special attack stat, and it gets Boom Burst, which is ludicrous. With Terra Normal, you can turn Boom Burst into a stab move, making it even stronger, and it can activate Throat Spray. So with this, you can get a funny sweeper that can also destroy like Iron Moth and stuff with fast priority, which is a really funny interaction. To be honest, it has the insane special, like literally even with max special attack, like this still out damages. Like if you did like Wave Crash over Ice, like Ice Beam has more BP than Ice Punch, and it's going to be boosted by Throat Spray. So on average, these would be stronger moves to have, which is why I have them here. Grass Knot hits Waters. Boom Burst is just a broken move with Terra. And you also get a Hex immunity too, which is cute. I don't know, I like it. But yeah, I think this set could be really funny. I don't think it's like amazing, but this kind of really just leans into the fact that Palafin is a really funny Pokemon with a lot of really cool set options. You can blow up Alamomola with this. You can probably blow up Dondozo. Um, you still have that intrinsic utility of Jet Punch, which is really nice. Um, so this is fun. Don't think it's amazing, but it's definitely serviceable. And then we have sub 3 attacks, and this set is kind of funny. So, um, I admit this is not an amazing set. I've tried it, but sub is a nice move on Palafin since it forces switches so easily. Lefties, the sub is intuitive, but Punching Glove with max ATA Focus Punch actually OHKOs Ogre Pond Wellspring after rocks, which is really funny. Sub Punch is just an old strategy, and it pairs well with Palafin, because it pairs with Punching Glove for one, so you could do that. But Focus Punch is just a really useful move with hazard stacking, and in general, it lets you open up your own Jet Punch and Wave Crash. Wave Crash with lefties is really nice. I really like it a lot. It's a nice way to take advantage of sub 3 attacks because you don't really have like setup with this. So having that immediate high power is really useful, and you still have that really strong priority option. But really, it's for Focus Punch or just using it some other move. But basically, take advantage of that high attack stat, and it's a fun set. I think it's kind of bad, to be honest. There's just so much Encore, and it gets owned by a lot of physical walls, but like, it's fun. I think it's some cookage. But yeah, those are the main sets I can think of. Literally Palafin has such crazy moves, like Draining Kiss. I feel like some goofball could probably figure out something to do with that, or like Whirlpool or something. It gets Zen Headbutt, Throat Chop, Outrage. I've seen Terra Dragon Outrage. Like, it's crazy what this guy can do, and I think it's really fun. But yeah, these are the main sets I can think of, so yeah, those are the sets. While at the moment I'm not sure where I stand on Palafin, I know for certain that the next couple of weeks are going to make for an incredibly interesting experience for the tier. Regardless of whether we wind up with a vote that banishes it back into the Shadow Realm, this has been an amazing opportunity for the community to get together for a really fun event. And at the end of the day, maybe the true heroes of the story were the friends we made along the way. Or something like that.